If you don't change with the times, you usually get rolled over by them. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. I have gold and physical assets is because if things go sour, I'm still prepared. Even before that, but it was the Vatican Bank that really pushed this monetary ideology, the way the central bank works, the concept of it. The reason I talk about XRP is because we have done too much research and we have confirmed that XRP is going to be the backbone of the financial system.
Welcome everyone to the Top Tier Podcast. It's myself, Alexis. Got a special guest, Versan from the BackSwan Capitalist. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me on your show, man. I truly appreciate it. And I commend you and other people such as yourselves that are really trying to get this information out there because, the world is in such a state of pandemonium. And we really need people to wake up to all the changes and challenges that we face in society today. Um, and obviously, it's not just in finance, crypto, but geopolitically and spiritually as well. So I'm very
Yeah,
excited to be here,
absolutely.
man. Thank you.
No, it's absolute pleasure. And as everyone knows in the audience, that we always focus on self-development, and that includes obviously fitness, that includes financial freedom, that includes your mental state as well, just being a healthier and all-rounded person. And the reason why we brought Hassan onto this particular podcast, because I feel that he has the knowledge and the credibility that we can touch upon a few things. There's a few things obviously we're going to talk about. I think what I personally wanted to get a conversation with you and what I think the audience will benefit is just talk about how first introduce yourself in the sense of like how BackSwan Capitalist started, so people understand obviously where to find you and find out why did you even start the podcast that you actually did.
Sure. So a little bit about myself, Versan Al. Nice to meet
Yeah,
everyone here. I
yeah,
was born
welcome.
and raised in, thank you. I was born and raised in Saudi Arabia. I'm a dual citizen of the United States and Saudi. I grew up in Dubai, UAE, before moving out here in the USA. I am an accomplished business owner, jack of all trades, if you will, own many cash businesses to avoid the unconstitutional tax system we have here in the States. But my main background in trade, yeah. My main background in trade is engineering. That's really where a lot of my passion was, where I mainly focused on material sciences, including the frontiers of nanotechnology. Very exciting stuff,
Hmm.
very expensive, but really crazy stuff that we're going to start seeing in the near future. But that was my past. It was something I was really interested in, but not something I wanted to go do. So it was around 2018, though, when I began to realize that the financial challenges we'd all be facing today were coming. So I saw this ahead of time. And that's really when I started talking, about preservation of wealth through hard assets and physical metals like gold and silver. So, a little bit of an investor, researcher, and educator, but it was really that moment when I decided to fully embrace the role as an educator to learn everything I could about the traditional financial system. That way I can understand where money was going. So that's when I started learning the digital asset space. And it really got to me when I started seeing all the lies and narratives that were being perpetuated and the propaganda by the mainstream news. So now I am the founder of the BackSwan Capitalist YouTube channel and consulting firm. We do consult people. We are not financial advisors, you know. And I must say,
Wink,
I've
wink.
never been happier. Yeah, I've never been happier in my life. And the reason I'm happier now is because I'm doing something that really helps people. It helps myself. But more importantly, yeah, we can help everyone position themselves for this great wealth transfer. And we are currently living through that.
Because obviously, as we know, that there is a great reset that's about to happen. It's going to happen soon, and I think the reason why you and I do podcasts like these is to waken everyone up, to get prepared, to get positioned into the right way.
That's right. Yeah. There's just so
Yeah.
much happening. The other day, even the UK just went into recession. and Germany is
Yes.
going to follow next. Japan's having a currency crisis. So, it's not just your country, it's also here in the States. So the whole world is going through some sort of currency reset, and we can certainly focus a little bit on that if you want me to.
Yeah, sure. So then I
But
think what for the audience, it'll be good so that we can maybe take it back a step. Probably explain to people like the monetary system, how it works, and why, because the average person probably don't know what a recession is, and why we go through these cycles, and what's about to happen with the Great Reset, and the distractions that we're getting.
Mhm.
So it'll be good to obviously maybe take it back just to maybe explain briefly
Sure.
in your own words what you feel the monetary system is and how it does actually benefit the average Joe. It's not just for the wealthy or the better half, as people like to say. It affects the everyday person, male or
Mhm.
female.
Well, the monetary system, first of all, this design was long time ago. And if you really want to go down that rabbit hole, I'm able to cover that, but I don't want to go too deep for censorship reasons and whatnot. But it really goes back to the Vatican Bank. They're the ones who really established, well, it was even before that, but it was the Vatican Bank that really pushed this monetary ideology, the way the central bank works, the concept of it. And even George Washington, Thomas Edison, who did not invent the light bulb, I'd like to add that, they
Yeah.
they were warning about this publicly here in the States. Around the 1700s, the 1800s, that we have to be careful for the Jesuits. The Vatican Bank, they established the Jesuit order. Many people think that the Jesuits are, for instance, a church group. No, they're not. They are a private military and trained assassins. And they were perpetuating what happened in 1913 in the States here. They helped establish the central bank. And that's when all constitutional rights were thrown out the window. It's just we were very dumb back then. We didn't understand things. So our freedoms have been taken away consistently, and what they had to do was slowly do this. So then it was around when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. And that's really when all of it was gone, the power of the currency, because what it did is it gave all the power to the central banks. And the central banks created this artificial system. And now, in today's modern economists, you hear them talk about interest rates and inflation. And I can cover that, but let me tell you something. That is noise. Your audience doesn't need to hear that bullshit because we're going to keep going in circles. Okay. And that's what all these top economists do. We need to address the underlying issues. And the fact that there's no gold backing the currency, that gave all the power to the central banks, where the central banks used it to build the military industrial complex. Now, what protects this corrupt system? The military industrial complex. They call it the petrodollar, which is dead, by the way. Where we'll talk about the BRICS too. So we're at the point where the currency cycle is over, and we have the BRICS nations challenging this hegemony, the reserve status, because the world is just so sick and tired of being under the rulership of a central bank that is affecting the whole world. So that's kind of where we are today. And I'd love to zoom in a little bit about what's happening at the central bank level.
Yeah, of course, of course. And you touched upon a few things. You mentioned the fact that President Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. For people that don't know, that happened in 1971. So just to give
Yeah.
you a
Sorry.
time scale so that we understand that this happened just over 50 years ago. So within the last 50 years, debt has been accumulating, accumulating, and accumulating to the point where just the US alone is what, $34 trillion in debt as we speak and counting,
Probably
about that.
higher. Yeah.
Yeah, well, probably even higher than, probably even higher than that. So now that we're at that point, I know you mentioned that you touched upon the BRICS nation, which is a group of nations that basically that merge together, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Which I might add actually, apart from I believe Russia, a lot of these other countries have been colonized from the West,
Yeah.
and which is quite
Well,
interesting to be honest with you.
well, that's what the IMF was. Many people think the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, the IMF really, they have something they learned. It's called cloud and pivot strategy.
Yes.
Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, I have.
Okay. So did I pronounce it correctly? The first word? I think I did,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, clear carbon,
My
yeah.
brother really covers this a lot. So they teach this at Columbia University, and the course really is that they put these people at the top places in finance, and what their job is to do. They're called economic hitmen. So what they do is they infiltrate um, another country's financial system, and then they dismantle their financial system and break it down completely from the inside out. That way, when they go bankrupt or their currency, they default on their debt, the IMF can come in and say, hey, like a loan shark, we're here to help you.
Got it.
And that's
Yeah.
how they've systemically gotten into most of the financial system in the world. And I think, whether this is controlled opposition or not, there is some big changes happening. And I don't think everybody is on board with this new world order, this reset, if that's what you want to call it. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess also with you just going back with the bricks, in your opinion, why do you think the bricks was formed? I know you and I know, but I just think for the
besides,
audience, what
yeah, to sideline the dollar. When we look at the BRICS nations, we have to understand that that's 80% of the world's population. So why does only 20% of the world's population, I'm talking about the Western and European empires, this goes way back. Why are they going to dictate how the whole world lives? It's not fair. So when you look at it again, 80% of the world's population, they are indeed, and this is all public information, there are powers that are emerging, and they will successfully challenge the Western hegemony and the reserve currency status, um, which has been perpetuating the dollar. Think about it. It's been perpetuating war, human trafficking, impoverishment of an entire class of people. All we do is export inflation to other countries unnecessarily because we want to live a life that we really can't afford here. We just keep pushing debt, and it's unacceptable, and it's also, like you said, unsustainable. We can't keep doing this. So something has to change. And what's interesting is if you really sink your teeth into the central banks, ever since the 2020 pandemic, that's where the root cause lies in all of this. There was a lot of coordination between central banks, and they were systemically collapsing their currencies worldwide. And they even had to put out a statement in 2021 saying, we are not colluding with each other. Think about that. I
very
mean,
interesting.
it's so obvious. And also, yeah, yeah. And, meanwhile, there's the geopolitical tensions that are exemplified by the UX proxy war in Ukraine. And that goes much deeper than most people want to believe what's really going on in there. And the funding of genocide worldwide, and not just Gaza, but everywhere else, So I think the world is over with the Western hegemony. And if you do look at what's happening in my country and yours, the UK, this is the decline, accelerated decline of these empires. So we're seeing the early stages of this, but um, historically we've been dominant economically and politically, but we're now experiencing a profound downturn, and we just have to ask the right questions. Why is this happening? So it goes back to what we said is systemic collapse of currencies, and I think they're trying to usher in a central bank digital currency real fast before the BRICS even has a chance to really fight back this deep state cabal banking system, if that's what we can call it.
Yeah, okay, okay. So then for the you're saying that we're gonna come into this digital currency. So then what does that mean for the average person, the average job? Because for someone that's watching, they're probably thinking, right, this is probably going over our heads. This is a bit, what can they do to pivot to protect themselves? Because we're all presuming that once this comes in, the rich is gonna get richer, the middle class is getting wiped out through inflation. So what can we do to basically protect ourselves and to protect our families? Because ultimately, that is self-preservation is always number one first.
Of course.
What would you say to
And
that?
I'm total alignment with you. And I keep pushing this even on the channel. I'm not like a lot of the other YouTubers out there that will focus solely on just cryptocurrencies. If people
Yeah,
who do watch my stuff, we talk about everything, and the reason why is because I personally and my brother and I, we strongly believe in diversification. We think it's key. Diversifying your investment strategy beyond digital assets. And we're going to talk about digital assets, but you have to also think about including in your portfolio physical assets like gold, physical silver. These are hedges against all the uncertainty we see happening in the world. And in times of economic uncertainty or rising inflation, and that's what we're seeing, right? Traditional fiat currencies, they're going to lose their purchasing power rapidly. Why? Because there's no gold backing it to begin with. But you just have to think outside the box. Fiat currencies, they have their lifespan, and the inflation, if you look at that, it is the purchasing power is gone. They've already
Of
impoverished
course.
us. I mean, I know what's happening in the UK. I have friends out there. They are struggling, and it's not
Yeah.
fair. People in the US are struggling too. So, we can't just take it and take it and take it. How do you protect yourself? De-dollarize, get out of the pound, get into something where money is going. Let's talk about that too. Where is the
Follow the
money
money.
going? Right. Yeah.
Follow the
So
money.
all you follow the money, and that's something I love to do. I just follow the money, and if you follow the
Yeah.
money, telling you
But
all
what I
the
was gonna
money
say,
is going into digital assets, right?
yeah, because I think
Mhm.
what it is that as people, we've been conditioned that it's all about fiat, all about fiat currency, say that fiat currency. And it's
Mhm.
hard for the average person to be like, well, you're saying to de-dollarize or de-pounderize. I guess that's a new word I could say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, how do you break out that mindset? Like, where, because obviously I say, we've been taught to save money, go to school, save money, get a job, get your pension. These are all things that we've been conditioned to. So with the new technologies coming in, what would be a good suggestion to say, right, we need to stop the dollar, well, stop collecting dollars and pound or fiat currency, should I say, and put it into real assets.
Yeah, I agree. You need to put your money into physical assets, and also you need to have some exposure to digital assets. Okay,
Hmm.
the reason I'm telling people to own gold still, and many people call me stupid, and but all the experts that have been on my show, including Robert Kiyosaki, Andy
Hmm.
Schekman, Clive Thompson is a former wealth manager. He handled $8 billion. You're going to tell me he doesn't know what he's talking about? Of course not.
Of course.
Um,
Yeah.
so what do you do? Let's look at what the rich are doing. Follow the money, like you said. And what do you see? You see central banks all over the world buying gold. And they're doing it quietly, by the way, while still on mainstream news touting Bitcoin, Ethereum. And also at the same time, they're trying to keep people in the dollar by the SEC and the regulatory. What we see, there's a
Of
lot of
course.
conspiracy and corruption there. So, again, they're trying to impoverish you by keeping you in the dollar, but they're also trying to mislead you into the wrong digital assets as well. I mean,
Of
this is
course.
so evil. It's so evil. I can't believe that people can't see through it. So I'll give you an example. This is funny, and then we'll get back onto the subject. But these are the same people who will say, like, "Oh no, this guy's full of it. He's lying to us." But they'll believe him when he talks about something else. You see what I mean? So
Hmm.
they don't believe him in one situation, but then they'll believe that the same person in a different situation. I'm just saying, how
Based on the
stupid are people?
narrative.
How
Based
stupid
on the
are people
narrative.
based on a narrative? If the narrative fits what they want to believe, what they want to hear, they're going
Yeah.
to go with it. That just proves that no matter how much you try to educate people, sometimes it just goes right out the window. But again, back to the central banks, they are buying the gold, and there's only a logical reason they're doing this. They're doing it to hedge themselves from all the associated risk in the traditional banking system. It's also the only logical approach for them and for us too. If also they're going to create a decentralized digital currency that's backed by gold, and that's what they're doing, okay? Which combines again the efficiency of technology for the future with the intrinsic value of stability and value of a precious metal, which
Yeah.
means every digital token that they're building. And we're going to talk about XRP in a second. The digital token will represent a corresponding amount of every gold. And with blockchain, we can tokenize central bank gold reserves. They know this. We know this. The rest of the world, they don't know this. So we're
Yeah.
trying again to put this out there.
Yeah.
So follow what the rich are doing, and
Yeah.
we'll get more into
And
that.
it's interesting. Actually, I heard earlier on today on the radio that everything's going into tokenization,
Right.
tokenization. I even heard that even with Larry Fink, that's where everything's going with real estate, with pensions, with stocks. Everything is going to be tokenized.
Hmm.
And the
Hmm.
things that if they do, and if they're talking about it now, clearly this is not a plan that's going to be happening in 20 years. This is something that's probably going to happen very shortly, probably within the next 5 years.
May I make a statement? So the Bank of
Of course.
International Settlements, the Bank of International Settlements, for those who don't know, is the central bank of central banks. They are in charge of all central banks throughout the whole world. They run the show basically. They made it an announcement about 2 years ago saying that this had to be 100% done before the end of 2025. Interestingly, we have a presidential cycle as well in the US, which is going to impact the whole world. It really will. US has a lot of influence still. So I just find the timing to be very interesting. So, it could happen by the end of the year. And then I know for a fact by 2030, they want to have 100% tokenization of the global economy, all of it. So maybe percentage by 2025 and the rest by 2030.
And for
Enormous wealth
those that
transfer.
absolutely, and for those that don't know about tokenization, I guess this is where blockchain comes in.
Yeah.
Because in terms of blockchain, that is where different tokens will represent certain transactions, represent certain asset classes.
Yes. So each, again, digital token would represent a corresponding amount of a physical asset.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what
Perfect.
ensures its tangible value.
Yeah.
And then it also fosters the trust that we talk about. Unfortunately, this is going to also eliminate jobs worldwide because the blockchain is also merging with the artificial intelligence too. So maybe we could talk about AI next time.
Yeah. Of course. Of course. Of course. So since we're talking about blockchain, digital assets, I think we should obviously talk about XRP. Talk about Ripple, talk about the company. This is not an actual XRP. This is not what is valued, but this is just a representation of what it is. Don't know if you guys can see it. It's a Ripple coin. It's just a little souvenir. But I think
Yeah.
we should let people know about Ripple, XRP, and the Swift system as well, just to really break it down.
Yeah, well, Swift really, people try to twist this, man, all the time. And that's why I don't follow anybody on Twitter. I have a small circle. And my small circle, by the way, does not to brag, it consists of only real experts in the industry.
Yeah.
So I don't want to associate myself with anybody else because I think there's a lot of misconceptions on certain topics. So, for instance, um, in this case, Swift is really just an interoperable messaging system, always has been. It's a way for banks to communicate very slowly, I'd like to add. That way they do lose money. And that way they can also extract many fees. I mean, you could do your research on this. I know my brother used to tell me, Versan, did you know Swift loses like some 1 point something billion every week? Lost funds get lost. Who knows? Maybe they
Oh,
went
really?
to Epstein. Uh, they got lost.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Hey, Pentagon lost 2 point something trillion dollars. I wonder where it went.
Yeah.
Okay. So, a lot of questions. Swift is outdated. Will
Slow
Swift be
technology.
will Swift be replaced? That's a very big if, and the reason I say it is because they have they're so embedded in the banking system. So what I was going to say is a lot of the YouTubers out there, they make a statement and they conflict their own statements and beliefs by leaving out most important thing, interoperability. If it's interoperable, nobody has to go. Everyone can be interoperable through all the blockchains. That's what interoperability means. So when I see people get like 400 retweets on something that doesn't make any sense, I'm like, oh my God, here we go again. So um, let's focus on XRP. The reason I talk about XRP is because we have done too much research and we have confirmed that XRP is going to be the backbone of the financial system. Everything again being interoperable, and we're going to talk about these opportunities. I'll give you a list, guys, of the tokens you need to position yourself and have exposure to. But through interoperability, these technologies will complement each other, not compete. And that's another misconception we see. Oh, it's going to be XRP. Oh, it's going to be XLM. Maybe it's going to be XDC. No, no, no. These
Everyone has a
technologies
place at
are,
the table.
everyone brings something to the table. The question is, though, what ledger is it going to all move on? And that's what we talk about XRP. Ripple protocol. The Ripple protocol. By the way, Ripple and XRP are two different things. Ripple is the company that
Mhm.
created the technology of XRP. However, XRP on its own is still a decentralized token with a limited supply, which makes it extremely valuable when you understand why the institutions are adopting this stuff. It's because they are going to use XRP to dissolve global debt internationally, like a debt jubilee, if you will. I'm not talking about for the average person. Maybe so, but it's for the institutions. XRP was never designed for the retail use. It was designed for the institutions. So we are
So we talk about
blessed.
quadrillions. So we talk about quadrillions of dollars.
Well, you're talking about $4 to $5 quadrillion of value, all the money in the world eventually going through all these technologies. And those are the ISO tokens. Another misconception, ISO just means an updated messaging system for these blockchains. So it's nothing else. Everyone's just panicking about these new names and stuff. So, all right. So again, XRP is it's a digital currency that's at the heart of the Ripple protocol of the blockchain technology. So it stands as the universal bridge between the traditional banking system, what the systems we have in place today in finance, and the future of global transactions, basically the future economy.
That's
So
okay.
no doubt, again, we're in the middle of this global wealth transfer because the bridging is happening right now very quietly. A few assets I'll be sharing with you guys today. So again, Ripple has you can look at this too, it's all public. They have strategic partnerships all over the world, which means there's going to be a lot of seamless integration with major financial institutions, including BlackRock and JP Morgan. Don't let them fool you. XRP has been positioned at the heart of the global financial system, and it is the token of choice in the evolving landscape. People need to come to terms with that. Global institutions are going to use XRP specifically to facilitate cross-border transactions with speed and efficiency and security. So that's really what it comes down to. The
And
technology has
transparency as well, right?
all of it, yeah. But that's why the technology has been publicly embraced by banks, payment services, payment providers, and financial behemoths, and that just reinforces what we're speculating because you can't get all the answers. You have to fill in the blanks, and these people work in the shadows. They're not going to go tell you, "Hey guys, this is what we're doing," but they will go tell you to invest in Bitcoin. Very interesting. And Bitcoin has its own theories and rabbit holes I can go down to maybe another day. So,
Yeah.
very exciting times. And also, we can talk about the ISO tokens, and I'll just give you a list of the tokens that I think people should have exposure to.
Because I know that with the ISO tokens, I know that a lot of the banks have to be compliant by 2025. So it was interesting that you did mention 2025.
Well, yeah, that's what the ISO is going to do.
Yeah.
ISO is the updated messaging system. So the
Yeah.
fact that these blockchains, and I'm sorry, these financial institutions can adopt this ISO messaging system, now these technologies, what I'm about to share with you, each serving a different place in the global economy, can now be interoperable, which means they can communicate with each other. Done. That's your reset. That's your financial reset. I see it very differently from others,
Yeah.
and it's really not hard to see. Uh, did like 3, 4 years of research into this stuff, and that's it. I get it. Everything else is, in my opinion, just noise. The SEC, the ETHgate scandal, I think it's important, but it's still noise. I don't pay attention to any of that other crap. So,
Yeah. Well, knowledge is power. And once you have the knowledge, then you're gonna cut out the FUDs and literally just focus on what needs to
well,
be done.
knowledge is power. You're right about that, but a lot of people have knowledge and they just don't act on it. So, if
That
you
is
act
also
on the
true.
knowledge, yeah, if you
Yeah.
act on knowledge, that's power.
Yeah. That is a very valid point. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree. That is a very valid point. So the coins that you mentioned or that are ISO. So okay, so you said XRP, that is going to be what the bankers coin. So that's more for the banks and the institutions. Is it fair to say that?
Yeah, sure. So I'll talk a little bit slower for this so people can actually pay attention. I think
Yeah.
this is important. So in the domain of ISO technologies, all right, Um, First of all, I want people to understand to dispel the notion that these technologies are competing, what I'm about to share with you. Again, ISO is just a messaging system for the banks, and it's going to serve as the backbone for a
Okay.
range of tokens. Okay, so number one is XRP,
Mm-hmm.
XLM, which is microtransactions, day-to-day transactions, if you wanted to pay me, for instance. XDC, that's targeting trade finance and supply chains as well. XDC is a very important one. I really have a massive exposure to it. I just don't talk about it a lot. Another one is IOTA, IOTA. That's the Internet of Things. Basically, in a digital economy, you can monetize on everything, even posting a picture. If someone likes it, you get monetized for it.
Okay.
So it's the Internet of Things between devices, people making money on stuff like that. The same way you put up a video on YouTube and you monetize on it, but this would be a lot faster. You'd make more money too. Anyways, it's everything else. So, and then you have Quant, QNT. Quant is working with MIT and IBM, and they're building a CBDC infrastructure, which is interoperable on the XRP ledger. And I think they're building a CBDC because when they engineer a financial crisis, a lot of people are going to get wiped out. And I think they're going to do what they do here is a problem reaction solution. So take action, invest. That way you don't need a CBDC. All right, so
Yeah.
I'm going to move forward.
And
Um,
just so based on Quant, so just to cut you, and with Quant, I know that Quant's got a very limited supply with Quant as well, haven't it?
yes, yes,
Extremely
very,
limited.
yeah. And that's why I think the
Well,
tokenomics is so important. If you look at something like Bitcoin and Ethereum, you can easily just mine another one. Well, it's not easy, but you
mhm.
can mine one. And there you go. Your store value's out the window. It's like
Yeah.
it doesn't even occur to people to think that. There is no store of value with Ethereum and Bitcoin, which ties us into the ETHgate scandal, which is a massive scandal where Bill Hinman here in the USA gave a speech. A speech is not regulation. A speech is a conflict of interest. And that's really what it comes down to, which gave Bitcoin and Ethereum a free pass, is why they blew up, by the way. And that's why they're still going up, is because they got a free pass. So basically, the entire crypto community is built on lies. It's going to collapse.
Yeah.
Promise you. It might happen in
Yeah. Yeah.
2026. It might happen, who knows? But it slowed down Ripple and XRP. They sued them. I think they sued them to buy time in
For
order to
accumulation.
position themselves and
Correct.
accumulate themselves because they did try to sideline XRP and they failed twice. JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs. So it's very exciting, man. So let me explain what each of these do very shortly. So XRP again was for Swift cross-border payments, essentially. XLM was for inclusive finance. So basically banking the unbanked, right? XDC was designed for, again, global trade efficiency and supply chains. IOTA, the Internet of Things, transactions between devices. And Quant was the blockchain interoperability for CBDCs on the XRP ledger. Again, each target distinct niches while collectively embodying the essence of interoperability. And I think that's the key there. Again, they're not competing, they are interoperable, so they can easily work together in tandem.
Okay. Okay.
I hope that was easy for
Hmm.
people to understand.
Yeah. Well, if not, they can also do some bit of digging, a bit of research on it.
Yeah, yeah. And if people want to, yeah, this is everywhere. You don't even have to look for it anymore. The information is all public.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate for articulating that really well. So I know we kind of touched upon the BRICS, but also I wanted to touch about the petrodollar and why that's
Uh-huh.
important and how that kind of interlink.
Well, I think it's funny actually, because here we are perpetuating war in the Middle East to protect the petrodollar, yet the Biden administration and the far left Democrats want to go green. So what the hell are we protecting? They're buying time, man. That's it.
Yes.
They're just buying time. Everything you see happening in the world, they're buying time. And they're printing money
Okay.
for this. Yeah, they got
Yeah,
to
of
prop up
course.
the
Of course.
markets until then, because if they can't do that, people are going to panic. This whole thing starts falling like dominoes. I think we're starting to see that the curtain is opening, if you will. But
Yeah. And
They're
it's
just buying
interesting
time.
as
Doesn't make
yeah, and it's
sense.
and it's interesting because I think, as you said, like a lot of people are waking up, a lot of people are not being lied to by what's been told on propaganda television. I think it's very interesting, even with the recent interview with
Excuse
Tucker
me.
Carlson and Vladimir Putin. I think he basically dropped a few word bombs so that people went down the rabbit hole because the fact that the G7 GDP, they said that was it 50% of the US petrodollar was in trade and it's all gone down to 13%. And even the BRICS
No,
nation now. Oh,
one of the
wrong.
questions you're right about that, but one of the
Oh, sorry.
that's the de-dollarization global trend. It's still
Yeah.
happening. They can't stop it. But one thing he did say that caught my attention, he's like, the American people need to ask themselves, what does the dollar do for you? It
Yeah.
doesn't do anything. It impoverishes us. It keeps a slave system together. And the only thing holding the dollar together right now is our confidence. The con, we're still believing in it. And
And
I'm
the
telling you,
military, I guess.
it's gonna break. It's already breaking. The military protects the dollar from collapsing, I guess you could say that, yeah. They protect the petrodollar. But what's interesting is also Saudi Arabia, about a month ago, they came out, some officials from the Saudi kingdom, they came out and said, hey, our alignment is with the BRICS 100%. And then America and the deep state news, including BBC, one of the biggest,
Yeah.
BBC and Yahoo, Reuters, Bloomberg, those are all deep state news outlets. They came out systemically together 1 day, 2 day, 3 days. And I read these reports. I talked about it with Andy yesterday, saying that's not true. Saudi never said that. There is no
Mhm.
BRICS. Saudi's not doing it. They're downplaying the narrative. You know why? Because they want to shift the risk of what's coming onto the people like you and I. And we're here fighting it by talking about it,
Yeah.
getting people to take action, do something for yourself, if not for yourself, for your loved ones.
Yeah. And yeah, and for the generations to come, because I
I
believe
don't
that,
think people have seen anything yet. They have no
yeah,
idea what's coming. It's crazy.
because I believe that if you don't act now, then I think you will be forever enslaved. And it'll
Yes.
be a slave that you can't break out from that point. So this is the only time where we've kind of got a lifeline to really look after your family and your loved ones and to position yourself to be like, in order to be free, you kind of have to, de-dollarize and go and buy other assets because that's the
Yeah.
only
And
way that you can really protect yourself.
yeah, and here's the challenging thing. This is what we get with a lot of our consulting sessions when people actually pay us to talk with us. And see, the thing is, the system is still active to where you cannot completely uh, de-dollarize or get out of the currency because how are you going to pay your electric bill? How are you going to pay your bill, your
With
mortgage,
food.
right? Or
Mm,
food, right? Um, so what you would want to do is still have money in the system, but consistently the dollar cost averaging scenario of investing every month, pay yourself, put some of your money into
mm.
gold, into XRP, into uh, fuck man, Bitcoin if you want. It's up to you,
Yeah,
but get the mindset to change because if you don't, the plan is to enslave everybody. That's what the central bank's dream has always been, a cashless society. The way I look at investments today is with the digital assets is okay, this is number one, where the money's going. Number two, if everything goes digital and the new system goes live and you haven't invested, because remember, each of those tokens, there's a limited supply. That's it. You've already given, you are going to be extinct at some point. And I'll tell you why, because if you do your research into the CBDC, and I have done the research, it is totalitarian, it is technocratic, it's freaking scary. They are going to have a time limit on the CBDC. You have to spend it within a certain time frame. If you don't, it's gone.
it's invalid.
Yeah, it's
And
like a
regions
coupon.
as well.
It's a digital coupon. It is a digital coupon. And guess what? How do you build wealth on a currency that evaporates after a certain time frame? You can't. So that's it. You're finished. Those who position themselves in the new system will have a way out, is what I'm saying. So if you don't want to put your whole savings in there, and I don't recommend that, I'm diversified beyond belief. I have percentage in physical assets. In fact, just to share people this with the people, I actually have close to 65% of my entire wealth in physical gold. The rest is in digital assets, cash. I got rid of my shop, too much liability. I don't want to have any liability anymore until the crash comes, and I'll buy everything cheap again.
Yeah,
And I have cash on hand. In fact, right now, that's what I'm doing. I am working to strengthen my cash position because if the banks go down, I want to have a medium of exchange. And I do have gold. That would be accepted in a crisis for sure. In fact, it would go
of
much higher
course.
too.
Yeah,
But
just for
you see what
bartering
I'm talking about?
purposes.
I
Yeah,
have money in food. I have money in water. Instead of going to Cabo with my friends, I decided to put 3 grand into food and water. That's my choice. I still did it because look at the price of food now. It's freaking expensive.
yeah.
It's so sad, man. People can't even eat. So,
And
I mean,
and I
this,
think I want, sorry to go. And I think what I want to even explain to my audience because I don't want people to see and think like, well, they need a ton of money to do that. Because the same way that you accumulate in gold and you accumulate in food, like you can still do what you can do. Everything's all about percentages. So even if you're not earning a lot of money, you still can take a percentage and literally buy, even if it's like an ounce of silver or you don't have to buy an actual block of silver. You can just buy a small percentage. In terms of food as well, just do what you can. Everything's
right.
all about limits. So as long as you can position yourself and literally just take what you can and work with it, then you'll be in a much better position than if you don't actually buy these things.
Yeah. And, if you don't mind, I would like to also explain why you should have gold. And the reason I say this is because, first of all, gold has been currency for thousands of years, and it still is, by the way. That's why the central banks are buying it again. Remember, the world is facing, it's not hard to connect the dots, but the world is facing a debt crisis, a credit
Hmm.
crisis, a liquidity crisis, and a banking crisis globally. So the only logical step to do is to position yourself outside. Not to mention the Bank of International Settlements has Basel III regulations that has elevated gold to a tier one asset. This happened, and it never made the headlines. Imagine that. Gold becoming a tier one asset. That hasn't happened in 75 years. Why did it not get on CNN? Why did it not get on the BBC? Because they don't want you to know.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's the
They want
truth.
us to
Yeah.
have it. They want the average
Right.
person to have it.
So what's the end game? The end game is to offload the risk onto the people. So, and many, those who really watch my show, I'm not doom and gloom at all. I'm
Hmm.
a very positive and uplifting person, but I want people to understand the seriousness of what's really happening so that way they do take the action. That's all.
Yeah. And I feel that we do have a finite time as well, and it's something that we have to kind of act upon now.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, no, totally agree. No, that's good. That's good. No, I think that we definitely sunk our teeth into quite a few topics on here.
I mean,
I don't know, is there anything that you wanted to potentially add on to what we wanted to
sure,
discuss?
sure. This will be fun. I hope you guys have some people who are like rabbit hole topics. They like stuff like that because this is about
Yeah.
Ripple. I want to explain this. If you ever look at the logo of Ripple, and I want to tell you, I've studied the occult
But this
for
logo right here, is it that one?
Yep, yep. I've studied the occult for many, many years, man, more than a decade. And out of fascination, okay, that's all. I'm just curious. I have a lot of questions, and I think it's healthy to ask questions because I asked the right questions, I spoke to the right people, and I dive deeper into the triskelion in Ripple's logo. That's the one you have right there. It's a triskelion.
Okay.
Triskelion, first of all, their logo was actually inspired by the golden ratio. Find that to be very interesting, which holds, again, profound significance. And I'll tell you why, because if you look at what Ripple's doing, it symbolizes the interconnectedness between the crypto world, the digital world, and the physical world. And I find that to be very interesting because it mirrors XRP's mission to bridge traditional finance with a digital future, right? Furthermore, the triskelion also represented the birth, the death, which was the lawsuit, and the
Okay, yep.
rebirth of XRP.
Okay.
And that parallels their journey. So from the inception of all the challenges that they had to face, it's continued evolution and adoption within the financial landscape. I'm just saying, man, the symbolism encapsulates XRP's role as the transformative force that it is. So
Yeah.
I'm not nuts. I really engage myself in things like this. And
Mm.
I don't talk about it
Mm.
publicly. I just thought your audience might like to hear
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
if they know what
I,
Ripple is and they're XRP holders.
yeah.
So
No, of course, of course. And I'll be honest with you, I think for me, what really kind of like cemented was is it Rosie Rosa, who's the treasury of
Rosie
the
Rios, yeah,
well, yes, apologies. So, yeah, who was the treasury of during the Obama administration, and now she's like one of the boards for Ripple. And she made a very interesting statement. It was like the train has left the station.
basically. Also, we had Lynette from ITM Trading on our
Yeah,
podcast, our show. And she said, and by the way, she's a former Wall Street lady. She was working with the hedge funds and the big institutions long ago. Very wonderful lady, smart. And she said she was a little iffy at first when we asked about it. And then she's like, um, the Bank of International Settlements has something called a money flower. You'll see the short on the YouTube channel.
okay,
It's a money flower. And basically, they have a selection of private adoption for early adoption before retail and institutions. So they adopted. And basically, she said that the winners have already been selected. That goes back to what Rosie Rios said, too. The trans leftist said the winners have been selected. And she said, I think the two that have been selected are the ones you just named. And it was XRP and XLM. They both are,
yeah,
remember, complementing each other. They're going to both be needed. So it takes two to tango, and people
yeah,
don't see that either. But I'm
yeah,
telling you, man, my brother and I, we're not trying to brag, but Vidal and I are light years ahead of the rest of the XRP community. We have a very small circle. We don't want to talk to many people because they don't understand. They don't understand,
yeah,
man.
of
And
course, of
if your
course,
heart is in the right place,
yeah,
you inevitably
yeah.
will discover the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what was so interesting, just on the side note. I remember, so as everyone know, like we're based in the UK. There's a place where the Bank of England is called Bank. So Bank is actually where there's a actual location called Bank, and that's where the Bank of England is based. And it was interesting. So where the subway train station, they always have like advertisements everywhere, and there was this Ripple. This bear in mind that in that region, they're very selective of what companies get advertised, and Ripple was everywhere around that whole region. Find it very interesting. It was there, and there's a place called Canary Wharf. It's kind of like our version of Wall Street. So it's like the financial district. Those two places had Ripple advertisements everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, this is everywhere. It's just people are
But if
slow
you
to
know, you
catch on.
know. But if you yeah, but if you didn't know, the average person would have known it. But if you know, you know. It's like okay, so you clearly see that there's something's going on in the
Yeah.
background.
Yeah, and Ripple's dominance at this point is unmatched in the financial
Yeah,
sector. They've also people might like this for the ETH gate if they're worried about the lawsuit. It's all a show, I promise you, because Ripple has become too powerful for the SEC to even slow them down. Again, putting all those strategic partnerships in place globally, it has put XRP at the very core of the global financial system. The tides are turning, man. The
yeah.
SEC, they, they
All
they're
central
gonna
banks.
they're gonna be forced at a
Yeah,
point to drop the lawsuit. And the reason they're dragging this on is again to circumvent Ripple, because if this technology goes live, XRP, it eliminates not just the intermediaries, which are the big banks who profit on you and I by
even
stealing
of
from
course,
us. It eliminates
transaction
them.
fees.
And there's a conflict of interest. That's why they are still dragging this shit show on. And I'm telling you, it's going to stop soon. And when it does, whether it's a crisis that gets us there or not, liquidity is the driver of all economies. What is XRP? It is a liquidity token. Why is it all over the world when all these institutions are drowning in debt? It's because they're going to use it with the Basel III gold. They're going to peg it, whether it's a stable coin or not. We still don't know, but there's going to be a pegging, and that's what the central banks are doing, and it's going to reset the debt globally. So the price has to be
Yeah.
very, very high too.
I've
More than
got
ten
it, got
thousand
it.
dollars. Yeah, much higher.
Right, exactly. And I just want to say, I know you're probably going to wrap up soon, but I just wanted to just touch upon
Okay.
just a few other
I'm
bits.
having a good time, man. It's okay.
Yes, yeah, because I wanted to kind of also talk about because I know you talk about liquidity, but then I kind of want to talk about pensions as well, if you don't mind.
Pensions.
Like pensions, because you've got the baby
Oh, okay.
boomers who accumulate quite a lot of wealth, and obviously you mentioned about there's a wealth transfer, because I know that they're saying that a lot of the wealth is still with the baby boomers. And I just find it very interesting that for many years, and you have people like, like Larry Fink that said that, Bitcoin is a joke, and now they've made an ETF out of it, and all of that's coming in. So now that you've got these baby boomers that are kind of, I know on our side, that are probably getting interested into it. The people that the older generation, when I used to speak about about Bitcoin and all the other, just talk about crypto in general, they always said that it's a fad and you're not interested. But now, circulating around in 2024, I'm starting to hear that within that generation, they're interested. They want like, oh, I've spoken to like my financial advisor, I've spoken to my accountant. They said this is something that I should really look into. I know you mentioned it prior. So I'm just trying to think like, why do you think it's a two-part questions. Why do you think they probably authorize an ETF for Bitcoin? And also, with the liquidity that's going on with with the debts, what do you think that will happen with the pension scheme? Because again, we've heard talks about, like there isn't any money in the pension pot. Do
They're
you
gonna
think that
steal it
comes in
all.
there? So do you think that all comes into liquidity into it as well? So that's kind of like, it's kind of like a two-part question.
Yeah, well, if you look at what Obama did in his administration, I know this was a while ago, but he put things into motion that are still playing out right now. Not kidding. Just because he's gone
Yeah.
doesn't mean what his actions have
Well,
been
some will
published. Yeah,
say that he's still there behind
yeah, and he's
behind
still
the
there. In
scenes, right?
fact, I think he's running the show behind Biden. I really believe that,
Yeah.
and a lot of
Yeah.
sources that are way up the food chain say the same thing. So
Yeah.
let me tell you something. If you have money into pensions, Social Security, 401ks, IRAs, they're going to steal it all. They're going to steal it, just like they did in 2008. Okay. It's no different. So I don't know exactly how to answer that question, because the thing is, people just need to understand the risks that are associated by holding their money into these. They trust these institutions to hold their pensions, to hold their Social Security. And these are the same people who've been screwing you 24/7. And you're going to leave your money with them? I don't know if that's what your question was, but I'm just
Yeah,
saying
there is.
people,
That's exactly what my
yeah,
question is.
people need to get the hell out of it.
Uh,
It's crazy. And I'm serious. Take the 25% loss if you have to. I know there's a penalty to get out, and that's why people are like, why do you think they put a penalty in there on your own money? They put a penalty so you leave it in. I mean, look at the corruption in that even.
yourself.
If someone wanted to pull out their money, I would have said, you know what? Pull out your money. You don't trust me? That's fine. But don't put a fee, a 25% fee to get your money out because you want to take it somewhere else. That is cruel. And that's not right. And I think these little details are what show
Oh, the
you the true
signs.
colors of the
Yeah, it's
system.
true.
Come on,
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's the little
Absolutely.
details.
Yeah.
Right. So,
And it's the
and
same
if you,
thing. And sorry. Sorry.
no, I'm sorry, man. It's just the currency reset, global currency reset it's inching closer every day, yet many are still in denial. You need to break free from this dollar centric mindset or the pound centric mindset. You need to break free from fiat currency mindset and holding your money with institutions. Web 3.0, that's where we're going. Again, following the money. They're building a system where you are in control of your wealth. That's it.
Yeah, their own sovereignty. Yeah.
Right. So you want to be part of the change. If you don't change with the times, you usually get rolled over by them. So I just wish more people would think outside the box and understand that you can't trust these people. You really can't. I mean,
Yeah.
if there is a liquidity crisis and we still have the delayed lawsuit or whatnot, even if it was not delayed, they're not looking out for you. They never will. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. We need to care for each other. So what we need to do is we all need to get out. We need to go into this new system together. We have to build communities, and that's what DAOs are doing. DAOs. autonomous, where people are able to vote on certain projects and certain things that
Of
become
course.
realities in the real world, real systems put in place, security systems, whatever you want to put out there. That way we're protected. And the most important thing that I'm still concerned about is the fact that we're all going digital, but we don't have a digital constitution in place too. If we're going digital, we
Good
should have a
point.
digital constitution. No digital constitution. What happens when you give too much power to somebody? They always abuse it. So that's
Dictatorship.
why,
Yep.
and that's why I have a lot of gold, by the way, guys. I have gold and physical assets is because if things go sour, I'm still prepared. I'm just saying, guys,
Yeah. Yeah.
think outside the box. At the end of the day, when we get to the bottom of this conversation, I always remind myself that money is really just the financial conversations we've been having is really just the surface of the conversation. We are in a spiritual war. This is a war over your mind.
Yes,
And
absolutely,
I hope
absolutely. And
people
that's
can
something,
see it the way I see it, because that's how I see it. And that's how my brother sees it. And a lot of experts see it, but they just don't tout it. So I
yeah,
will.
and you're right. Yeah, and you're right. And I think the financial aspect is just the surface. I think the reason why we talk about it is because obviously that's what people are very interested in. But
Of
when you
course.
talk about the spiritual aspect, when you talk about even the physical aspect, like they want to take control of everything. Your mind, your body, really your soul, your spirit.
Yes.
That's
If they, if
if it, yeah,
Yeah, that's what Yuval preached at the World Economic Forum, and they have the young world leaders. You know what that is? Those guys they're trained to infiltrate and to penetrate and to build this new global cabal system, where we are the liability, we are the problem, and there's the depopulation agenda too. If people want to sugarcoat it, go ahead, that's fine, but it's really out there, it's happening. So um,
yeah.
we
And it
have to
kind of
take the
makes sense.
power back. And the only way we can take the power back is if we wake each other up and we fight for peace. We not fight for it. Let's just say if we stand up for peace, we stand up for justice, and for what's right, we can make a difference. The problem is
Yeah,
everyone has been bought and sold by gizmos and gadgets. Everyone's on their
yeah,
phone.
yeah.
So
Scrolling, yeah, and
I
being
don't I don't
distracted.
even have a TikTok and I never
Yeah.
will.
Yeah, but everything that we do see is all distraction, celebrity noise, celebrity gossip. It's all distraction. And I always say that if you,
Taylor Swift.
yeah, and even to be fair, even if you did mention like something like the Epstein when they said it's going to release all the lists and stuff, again, everyone was interested in that, but then it's a distraction of what's really going on behind the scenes. So any news that you see that's going on in the world is all distractions at the end of the day.
I'll tell you a secret. This was actually given to me from a real former intelligence officer. I can only like touch on it, obviously. The reason the Jeffrey Epstein, let's not call it Jeffrey Epstein, the reason the global government trafficking operation will not be exposed is because there is a national security threat behind it. And that makes me wonder, like, what do you mean? How's it a national security threat to expose pedophilia involved in governments?
Mhm.
That's another conversation we can have in private.
Yeah, but yeah, that
I'll
has to be a
I
private
will never talk
conversation.
about this on any platform. I don't care where.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
exactly.
but I did get some information on that. It's pretty intense. So,
Yeah. No, that's brilliant. Well, guys, I think to be fair for son, I think we've given the audience
yeah,
more than enough for
that's fine.
today. Just for today anyway. It's definitely a pleasure of having you on. By all means, you're more than welcome to come back on this platform. But
Yeah.
open invitation. You're more than welcome to come on. And just another great episode. I think that conversation like these is really needed, is really necessary, and it's amazing that we can even have a conversation like with yourself on the other side. I'm on the other side of the world, other side of the planet, and the reality of it is that the stuff that you're going through, we're going through on the same end. It's just different time zone. So we need to wake the world
Right.
up and let them know what's going on. Let them know that you have to be prepared. You have to be putting yourself in a great position so that when this reset do come, and it will come, guys, then you're prepared and you can protect yourself and your family because that's what it's all about. And obviously awakening others.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So till next time,
Yeah, I really appreciate this. This was fun, and I'd love to come back on sometime, and we can certainly
more than
talk
welcome.
about whatever you guys want. So, yeah, there's a lot of information out there.
Yeah, yeah, more than welcome. And I really appreciate it. It's been a true honor. And till next time, guys, welcome, to the Top Tier Podcast and the family. Up to the next time. See ya.